to another live stream. Today is a very special edition because we are rolling out a new special segment, Weekend Warrior Live. So joining me today is Alec Schwartz with Berkshire Hathaway and A-Team Home Heroes, winner of our last Weekend Warrior competition. So thank you, Alec, for being here.
Well, thanks for having me, Nicole. Really happy to be here.
Awesome. Happy to have you. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here with us and talk a little bit about your business. But first, we want to talk about coming off of the Weekend Warrior competition in the midst of the Eagles game playing, football season starting up again. You, out of a bunch of other agents competing, you were able to get the most visitors to your open house. So how'd you do it? What's your strategy? How does it work?
Well, of course, some of it is the house. Let's be clear. The house is adorable, but good preparation, right? So we don't just take it for granted. We're having an event. We make sure we make a bunch of phone calls prior to the event to tell both the neighbors and target audiences that we're having an open house, because the worst thing to do is to show up for an open house and have nobody else come, right? So you got to do that. You got to get up signs. You've got to make sure you get mailers in the mail in advance so that you're promoting the event that you're going to have. And if you promote it, they will come, right? That's the line, right? Yeah,
that's right.
That's what we do. And every day we build a little more, and we just keep going at it until when you have an event, you have people show up. If nobody shows up, it's been a waste of the time, right?
That's absolutely right. So it's like put the work in ahead of time to make it worth your while.
Correct.
And don't just complain. We'll get into the mindset later.
Right.
Don't just be a complainer.
No, you got to do it. And you can't just rely on it being, of course, it's in the MLS. Of course, that means it's going to show up on a bunch of websites. And of course, we throw it on social media, but that will not guarantee people show up. What guarantees that people show up is having the one-to-one conversations about what we're selling, and then people show up.
That's very right. So you said you have like a set number of calls you'll make, or you'll tell your team how to make the calls?
I mean, I do, when it's my open house, I do the calls. I mean, when there's the other team members' open houses, they do the calls, right? You know, there's nothing, there's no substitute for getting on the phone. And so, yeah, we try to make 40 calls before every open house. About half of those tend to be to neighbors. You say, why invite neighbors? Because neighbors are the best marketers of houses on their street. You want to tell them about what you're selling, first and foremost. And secondly, maybe they'll show up and want to list their house with you at some point in the future, and you want to leave a good impression, make a good first impression. And then the other group is, so in this case, we had a home which is kind of a single in an area where a lot of people still live in attached housing. So in this case, we called, about half of those calls were to people in attached housing who've been in their houses for at least 7 years, and therefore there's some equity there for sure, and they could be move-up buyers or move-over buyers, depending on which way it goes. Yeah.
Very nice. So it also comes down to a little bit of knowing your market and where you're at, and strategically. Now, this was a listing you had, but some newer agents, they will just kind of pick another house that someone else is listing to do an open house at.
Sure.
So for them, it is important to really be strategic about where they're choosing.
Right.
Make sure they're knowledgeable in that area.
They've got an opportunity to sit in an open house that in this market, that's a precious, precious opportunity. There's not a lot of listings out there. And if another agent for some reason is giving away that opportunity to a different agent, certainly take advantage of that. Yeah.
Love it. And now anything the day of the event, the open house that you do?
I mean, the signs go up usually either the night before or the day of the open house itself. No, not much more. Social media. We do when we get to the house, we do some sort of live video post on social media, and that sometimes brings some people out. We used to, and we haven't done it lately, we used to do a live, 5-minute, virtual open house that we were doing. A lot of that was during COVID. We should do it again. I mean, certainly in the summer months, we do it a lot. Maybe it would be good during football season as well.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So that was a good little teaser. Get people sparked up about another good weekend of getting out there. Yeah.
But that's only half the battle, right? I mean, then you got to follow up. All those people who show up. It's very rare when somebody walks up to your open house and says, "Yep, I'm buying this house
right now."
Right now. Yeah. Where's the paperwork? So my job is to sell that house. But then if they don't want to buy that house, those are the people who are going to buy another house. Very
Absolutely
few
right.
people, especially when the Eagles are playing football, are coming to your open house if they're not pretty serious about buying a house. It's like they have better things they could be doing. So
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. Goes into how you are communicating, staying involved with your sphere of influence, which now, you've prospected new people over the weekend.
Yep.
They are now part of your sphere, part of your follow-up. So how are you engaging with these people? How frequent?
Yeah, it's an ongoing battle. So we'll follow up with everybody who shows up at our open house probably 4 to 6 times. Some people will not call you back, of course. Some people will call you back, and we'll just try to. The goal is to make the next appointment. That is the goal of those open house follow-up calls. But the goal of any prospecting that we do is to get to the point where you're having a conversation about real estate first and foremost, and then hopefully turning it into a live interaction with that person. If you're not having conversations about real estate, you never get to the next level. And so it's about conversations. And, we do some of it via text message. We do some of it via email. We do some of it via social media. But I'm a dialer. I will call and call and call. And so every day I spend at least an hour of every day making actual phone calls, and I do additional prospecting every single day.
Nice. What about staying top of mind with people you have worked with, past clients, and just your network?
Everybody who's in my database hears from me at least 3 times a year, and that's an actual phone call. But then they also get other kind of drips from me, whether it's a newsletter or a market update or any of those things. So we have a pretty comprehensive program for staying in touch.
Nice. Yeah. And 3 times a year is a decent amount of time for everyone you've ever.
It's a lot it's a lot, but it works. And it's, it doesn't have to be 3 times, but for us, that's the goal, is to hit everybody 3 times with an actual phone call and have other stuff supplementing that. I think somebody once told me that people will forget about you after 21 days. And so we try to make sure that we are going less than 21 days before with every single touch.
Yes, I like it. And what's your reason for calling these people? Is it an anniversary? Is it a birthday? It could be anything.
It can be any number of things, but it's usually organic, and it's usually something that has either happened, or it can be any of those things. It can be an anniversary of them buying a house. Mm-hmm. It can be a birthday. It can be, hey, I saw that something in your neighborhood just sold, or I saw something in your neighborhood just came on the market, or we've got a listing coming up that's in your neighborhood. Or it could, so you want to tie it into that, or it can simply be, hey, I don't know if you're aware, but home prices are an all-time high. I know you've been in your house for, since we sold it to you 18 years ago. I don't know what your plans are now, but I'm sure your life has changed. Maybe we should have a cup of coffee and talk about it. And that's a great invitation to having that. And as importantly, they're going to be the source of my other buyers and sellers. And so
that's right.
You stay in touch, not because they're necessarily, although by all means, if they want to buy or sell a house, you're there. But hopefully they know somebody else who wants to buy or sell a house.
Yes, and they become your evangelists, your biggest advocates.
Our biggest advocates.
Just like the neighbors for the
neighbor.
Open house.
We need to expand that that network of advocates, right?
Yes. So now with all of these tasks and calls and things at hand, and regular life gets in the way, how are you structuring your day? Yeah. Do you have a time blocking? Do you have
I absolutely time block every single day. I get up every morning. 6 out of 7 days, there's some sort of physical activity, whether it's a run or a trip to the gym for the rowing machine or something like that. It's important to try to stay healthy. I do have breakfast every single day, and either at 9 o'clock every day, or if I have something else happening at 9 o'clock, I reschedule it. I have 2 hours of prospecting every single day, and half of that is phone calls, and half of that is hitting social media and handwritten notes and emails. And that's not necessarily, some of that is sphere of influence, but some of that is also expired listings, not as many these days as there have been in the past, people who are trying to do for sale by owner work. It can be people from open houses. It can be, neighborhood calls around a listing. It can be all of those things. So
Okay.
some of it, so I'd say about half of the prospecting every day is somebody I know, and half of the prospecting every day is not somebody I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have sort of things that you can pull from a list or pick out of a bucket that are like, sometimes it could be overwhelming for newer people starting. Like, where do they even go? All right, I got this 2 hours blocked out. I'm going to prospect. Okay.
Yeah, I find
what's the first thing I do?
the first thing you do is I talk to new agents all the time. I have a team, so we've brought people from, I've never done this before, right up to, experienced agents who join my team who are like, I'm still not doing so well with this. But it's always starts with building that central sphere of influence. People who know you, love you, want to do business with you. That's the key to the core of your marketing. So you start with that, and then you build out from that. We have tools that we use so that you can get phone numbers of people who aren't on the do not call list and email addresses for people, and you can do that geographically. And we work with those to make the phone call, right? And so, and we tell people to start with an area they're familiar with when we're building a geographic farm. So sphere of influence, geographic farm, and then we broaden from there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sprinkled in with phone calls could be social media, posting, maybe commenting,
Yeah.
liking, engaging.
We do all of that, or I do all of that, and hopefully all of my team members are doing all of that all the time.
Yeah.
But so is every other agent out there.
That's right.
And so, and as important as it is to constantly be in business, because people who don't do that appear to be out of business, you want to do as much as you can to make a one-on-one connection is what I will say.
And even though everyone else is doing it, yes, but not everyone has your exact social media
Of course not.
network and friends list.
We do it not because everybody else is doing it. We think we do it better, first of all, right?
Yeah.
But if that's all you do, look, anytime anybody posts that, do you know a realtor in such and such area, on any of the neighborhood Facebook book groups or whatever it's going to be, there's always within minutes 100 people use my realtor, use my realtor, use my realtor. And like every now and then, do we get a hit from that? Sure. We'll get a hit from that every now and then. But, that's hard.
Yes.
I mean, and that's when you've got somebody who wants to buy or sell a house.
Yes.
Right. So
That's
the
right.
rest of it is, I think of it like billboard marketing. You're building a brand. If you use your social media presence to continue to build your brand, over time, that brand will become part of your audience's collective memory, and that's what you're
right.
going for. But that's what social media is about. It's about branding. It's about just building a general market comfort. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Just so when people are ready at the moment, they in hopes they think of you,
Right.
Because they're not filled with tons of real estate and mortgage
Right.
news on their timeline as we are with multiple people.
Right.
So what about the rest of your day? 2 hours of prospecting guaranteed. Anything else that's like set in stone?
Set in stone? No. The rest of my day is listing appointments and showing houses to buyers and lunches sometimes with past clients. And then at the end, I mean, I'm involved in some things in the community, and so we get around to some of that. Not every day. And look, I'm a social person, so I love to cook. We'll have a pretty regular dinner party at our house with the various people, and that's not marketing per se, but it is staying top of mind for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's building that relationship deeper with
Right.
those people.
Right.
Face to face, breaking bread. They say like the statistic, I don't know exactly, but if
Right.
you have food with someone, shared food, it's like that much more of a bond.
I think that's
immediately.
probably true, and I like food.
Yes, everyone could love food. So
Yeah.
you can't really, you can't argue against that.
No, not at all. Yeah.
All right, so that's good. Now, how do you gauge a successful day?
This is where I probably disagree with most people. A successful day is the day you do the activities. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I mean, it could be the day you have 20 closings, ha, ha, ha. Or
No.
it could be the day you pick up 4 new buyers or 2 new sellers. But truly, the most successful days are the days where you keep to your schedule and you do the things you need to do. Because the least successful days are the days where, for one reason or another, and it happens, we're all human, where that 2 hours of prospecting gets pushed away and you don't get it done. And I'll tell you, if you don't get it done at some point, and you don't know when in the future, there'll be a day where there's a lull.
That's right.
You were trying to avoid the lull. This is a roller coaster ride of a profession, and we do everything we can to minimize the roller coaster is what we do. So a successful day is one where we actually do the things we're scheduled to do.
Yes, I totally agree. And then, yeah, because the day you have the closings or you got the new clients, those are the results
Right.
of all the work that you're putting in. Right. So you should not really celebrate those too much because that's the aftermath. Yeah. That's a nice to have, but it's not the necessary requirements.
Right. 20 dials and I don't talk to anybody, that's a success.
Yes.
You know, I mean, and I definitely, look, I see a lot of new agents who are like, oh, I made 5 phone calls and I didn't talk to anybody. Oh, what a waste of my time. And that's not a waste of your time. And it's hard to do that and especially for a new agent when there's a lot of that, let me be very clear, it's hard to do that 7 days a week, right? I mean, every day you got up and thought your goal was to have a conversation. You didn't have a conversation. That's a hard week to get up and keep doing it. Repeat.
Or worse, you have a bad conversation, like a dull one, or someone is mad at you, and it's a lot to endure.
It's a lot to endure. There's a lot of failure, right? I don't think there's more failure than baseball, but there's a lot of failure. Yeah.
So then, is there a time where you will evaluate what those activities are? So right now you say 2 hours prospecting. This many dials, this many posts or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, every agent's different, right? Every agent is stronger at one thing or another, and you have to do it. That said, I will say that every agent needs to get on the phone and make phone calls. As much as people hate making phone calls, and believe me, on the top of the list of things that agents hate to do, phone calls is usually at the top of that list. You got to find, after that, you have to decide what's working for you, whether it's doing open houses or a consistent texting campaign or a consistent campaign around any level of market. The key is consistency, right? You say, I'm going to do it, plan to do it, and then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. If you have the conviction that it's going to work, the key to finding out if you're right or wrong is doing it over and over and over again. And if you find out, 3 months, 6 months later that it hasn't worked for you, well, then you got to change it.
Right. But you need to fill the time with tries.
Right. The answer
until you can find out.
Of course not. Right? The answer isn't to stop doing anything and wait for the phone to ring. I mean, if you wait for the phone to ring, it probably won't. That's
absolutely right. That is 100% right. So what about now? Our final segment is always about mindset. A lot of people are getting down in the dumps, being Debbie Downers. And we as the professionals in this industry need to, more than ever, I think, have the positive spirit.
Sure.
And also provide that confidence that the sky is not falling. No, there's no housing bubble. Everything's not going to crash and burn. So how do you communicate that in a thoughtful way?
Well, every market's different. I've been doing this for more than 26 years now. Every market's different. I've seen strong buyers markets. I've seen strong sellers markets. I've seen everything in between. I've seen the bubble burst in 2007 and 2008. I know what that looked like. I've now seen, interest rates spike, and I know what that feels like. I wasn't alive when interest rates were 21%, although I've heard plenty of stories from even agents with more experience than I have about that. But, people, what we as realtors do is we provide an essential commodity to people, right? Everybody needs a place to live. And so, and what will absolutely continue to fuel that market is, it's not great, but people will get married, which is terrific. And they will want a new house. People will have children and they'll outgrow a house and they'll need a bigger house. People's children will go off to college and they'll need a different size house. People will move for work. People will have life events which are positive and even life events that are negative. People eventually, or some people will get divorced and that's another opportunity. And some people, unfortunately, will also die, and that's also an opportunity. You don't need a house after you're dead.
That's right.
So,
but your family is stuck with it.
But your family is stuck with it and needs to deal with it, right? And so, all of those life events are going to continue to happen in every market. I don't care what the interest rate is. I don't care what the housing inventory looks like. And look, we've got historically low inventory right now. We know that in most areas, certainly in my area. And we know that people are sitting on 2.5% interest rates. But that's not why they're buying and selling a house. That's not their motivation. You find their motivation. You talk to them about helping them with their problem or helping them with their situation, and you're there to help. I mean, that's what we do. We are there to help every single day. And so I don't see it. I mean, so mindset, if I go out every day and think I'm going to help somebody today, that's my mindset every single day.
That's right. And even when people are coming to you complaining, maybe you let them air their grievances a little bit. These are consumers. These are uneducated people when it comes to real estate. They are not educated around the real estate market. They don't know all these things that you just talked about. They don't have the past experience. They're not doing this every day. So, letting them have their space, but not falling victim to it as well. Keeping your head high and like giving them that boost of confidence that they need.
Yeah. I don't subscribe. I've heard agents say, buyers are liars and things like that. No, I've never, ever, ever had that situation. They need help. They need to understand something. That's our job. And that's all there is to it.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. Okay, last question that's very fun. I like to ask this.
Uh-oh.
If you had 2 extra hours in your week for free, like 2 extra hours, how would you spend them? But it has to be working on your business, future, prospecting, growing it.
2 extra hours in a week.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a really difficult question. On my business. I mean, I milk every hour for my business that I can. But if I had 2 extra hours, I think I would find another sphere. I do more of the same. I really am very comfortable with the business that I do. And so we would do more of the same. I would do more of the same.
Double down.
I would double down. And, if I, instead of, I don't want to say that if I could go to 4 hours of prospecting every day, I'd go to 4 hours because it is a lot of work. But I would.
But you would do extra.
If I had 2 extra, I would schedule another lunch or dinner with somebody in my sphere because that's my favorite part of what I do. And so it would be prospecting, but it would be that. Although I then need to add like an hour of exercise or something like that.
Too much eating.
Too much eating. Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Very great to have you. Tell people where they can find you, connect with you, both buyers, sellers, and other agents.
So we have a website at www.ateamhomeheroes.com. That's ATEAMHOMEHEROES.com. It's a lot of letters. But also you can call me on my cell, 215-919-9786. Be happy to talk. You can find us at A-Team Home Heroes on all social media. So all of those ways you can find me.
Awesome. Thank you, Alec. Have a great day.
Thanks, Nicole.
See everyone soon.